That's for losers, man. I don't get involved in that stuff. But
Angel Rashad Milligan rolling out.
That's a good question.
Brandon,
Yeah,
you want one quick question?
we can't ask Rashad questions.
Hey, Rashad.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So I set out like a goal ever since I came back from LA this week to start streaming before 2:30 a.m. I did it yesterday. I started at like 1:15. But tonight or this morning, it's 2:56 a.m. I gotta do better. I have no excuse. NBA Finals was over at like 11:30 p.m. Have no excuse. I was just watching a bunch of people's Twitch streams. Like, it was just fun. I was just in the chats of like smaller streamers, so they only had like, or I say only, but they had like 10 to like 30 people in there, so they would respond to everybody's comments. So it was just really fun, the interaction. It was cool. And it was really kind of like a thing of showing them love, but it also turned into a thing of like, oh, this is actually entertaining and engaging and stuff, especially staying in for the night and things of that sort. So, yeah, it just ended up becoming something where I was like, okay, I'm finally leaving. Also, I didn't have like stuff to talk about. I didn't want to talk about the World War III, but I ended up adding it anyway, just because it was so dry outside of that. It was like everybody's focus has been on this World War, and for good reason. It's like World War III, that affects all of us. So I get it. Sorry. Before I get into World War III, I do want to shout out some music. This is an artist. Hold on. They really stick out to me. And then I'll just say some other stuff that came out that I heard good reviews about too. Her name is Amaria Grace. She has a following, so she's no one new. Oh no, Amaria McGee, excuse me. She's not new. She has a following, as you see. Like, she has, people following her from way back when. But this little snippet was hard, bro. All I'd ever know. I already shouted out India Sean last night, but shout out to Cuzzos as well. Cuzzos released their album. I'm at the end of it right now. I'm on track 9. And Fajitas, of course, I heard that with Tony Schnall. I think I shouted it out. I heard that before, so I have really 2 more songs left. But so far, it's a very, very genuine West Coast feel and stuff like that type of album, and it's for the girls as well. I feel like so some good girl summer party, feel good type of music and things of that sort. Like, get up off your bootstraps, let's stop being sad type of music and everything. So shout out to Cuzzos and congratulations on the release of their new album, Family Reunion. I love Cuzzos. I've been a Cuzzos fan since they were on the radar. Before the pop out, they were on the radar. And I was just like, oh, what is this? And it was just like a whole group of girls rapping. And I was like, oh, they dancing and having fun and stuff. And I was like, are they cousins? And I had to see an interview, and No Jumpers said they're not cousins. And then the pop out happened, and they were on the stage with Kendrick Lamar. And he was like, where are Cuzzos at? And I was like, oh, man, they're out of here. And that helped them a little bit, you know what I'm saying? So shout out to Cuzzos, bro, for sure. Some, like I said, just genuine West Coast type of music. I think it's always important to have those people who represent the regions of where they're from and things of that sort. Like I said, like 504, Icy Girl, Only Heaven, both in New Orleans, and the 504, keeping that balance alive. Like, that stuff is so important to me. But shout out to the kid as well. They got the co-sign from New Orleans from Kendrick Lamar at the BET Awards. What's his name? Hold on, I'm about to pull him up. And shout him out too. There he is, Lareezy. I definitely want to interview Lareezy if I could get a hold of him. So he doesn't have his DMs open, so I don't know like how to reach him. But he has over 1,000 followers now. He had less than 1,000 just a second ago. When I first saw him, he had like 200 or 300, like right after fresh off of the Kendrick cosign, and then it went up to 900 like a couple hours ago. Now it's over 1,000. So, buddy's out of here. But yeah, I just want to make sure I show him some love as well, and I love to interview him. If you see this, Larizi, I love to do an interview, bro. Hit me. I got my email in the description of this video, and yeah, I'm in the 504. So let me know. What else? What else? Is there any other? Oh, Slick Rick dropped an album. A lot of people are saying the Slick Rick album is good. I only heard the song with Nas because that's the one that everybody's been posting as like the outlet. And it was pretty cool. I really love Nas's verse, and it was nice hearing the kind of contrast of Slick Rick style versus Nas is kind of like, it felt like more old school with Nas, even though Nas is like from the 90s and things of that sort. So here it is. Why now? Why London? Why 26 years later? Why Idris? Because creativity has no expiration date. Imagination is timeless. Fueled by Idris's energy, bringing my voice and stories to the film industry. And now here we are, basking in victory together. Mass Appeal Records. Oh, he released this under it's a visual album too. He released this under Nas's record label. Cause he records in there with it 9 to 5. Cause he done with it 9 to 5. He performed at Mike Young Free World a couple of years ago and things of that sort. This year's Rock Marciano and Alchemist headlining. Shout out to Mike and everything he's doing up there in Brooklyn. It's really dope. And yeah, man. I don't know, man. Shout out to Slick Rick, bro. Shout out to Slick Rick. Can you tell us a bedtime story? But I love it, man. Keep making the new music. Like you say, it has no expiration date. You could be at Legacy Act and still release new music. Bow Wow has been doing the Millennial Tour for how long? And, he's still like really just released a song with Chris Brown a couple months ago. So there's no expiration date, like you said, bro. What else? I think that's it. That's it for music. But let me see if I want to say anything else before we move on to the World War. All right, hold on. Who else in music? I have to see. I'm gonna check my likes and see if I see any. Oh, it was a dude with the cool photo cover. Oh, happy birthday, Lil Zelly. Rest in peace to Lil Zelly for sure. Here it is. I found it. This one, bro. This dude named Peter Sun. I never heard of him. But rent was due. And look at the cover art. It's just so cool. It made me want to give it a listen and stuff like that. So shout out to Peter Sun. Rent was due. Best of luck, everything like that on this new project. I think I'm going to check it out, like I said, just because of the cover art. And with that being said, we can move on to the World War III. What a pivot. What a pivot, man. Who knows with more smoother transitions than that. This is from Forbes.com. World War III, question mark? According to Forbes TV and the Forbes staff, the Israel-Iran conflict is not the start of World War III. FDD's Mark Montgomery. On Forbes Newsroom. Hold on. Is this I'm thinking this a story. This a video? Come on, Forbes TV. This video is 17 minutes. Twin, I need something to read, bro. All right, hold on. We're going to find another story. I literally just clicked on it, and I clicked on it and things of that sort. Let me see. This is from the Mirror. The Mirror. Is there something from like mainstream media? Let me see. Should I go to Vox? My former employer? Let's go to Vox, I guess. Shout out to Vox. This is written by Zach Beku. All right, so shout out to Zach. Béchon. Zach Béchon. The Israel-Iran war hinges on three big things. It's impossible to know how the war will end, but here's how to make sense of it. Last night, Israel went to war with Iran, launching a bombing raid targeting Iran's senior military leadership and top nuclear scientists. The strikes were a tactical triumph for Israel. The heads of both uh, Iran's entire military and the Revolutionary Guards were, unalived in the opening hours, and the Iranian air defenses took a massive hit. Israel suffered a few, if any, losses and suffered no immediate major retaliation. But on Friday afternoon, Iran launched a barrage of missiles across Israel that overwhelmed Israel's Iron Iron Dome defenses. While the full scope of the counterattack is not clear yet, it underscores that in this war, as in any other, there's far too much if you don't know in the early days to be confident about predicting how things end. Israeli officials are saying that the strikes will continue for days, if not weeks, essentially a commitment to open-ended regional war for the foreseeable future. It's nearly impossible at this stage to truly understand what's happening. We know from history the full impact of Israel's attack on Iran will take years to unfold. It could prevent an Iranian bomb or ensure one. It could destabilize the Iranian regime or entrench it, writes Kareem Sajapur, uh, an expert on the Iran at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. There are, I think, at least three key questions that will play a major role in determining the outcome of this conflict. They are: one, is the Israeli objective limited to demolishing Iran's nuclear program, as they said, or is this a regime change operation? Number two, to what extent does Iran have the capability to hit back? And number three, how does this affect Iran's thinking about getting a nuclear bomb? All of these are, at this point, unanswerable, but trying to assess what we do know what can help clarify what to look for when trying to figure out the implications of the past day's events. What is Israel's objective? For the past several decades, Israel has described Iran's nuclear program as an existential threat to its survival. It was never fully clear if Iran was committed to getting a nuclear weapon or merely wanted the capability to acquire one quickly if it felt threatened. But the steps like the building and the centrifuges that could produce highly enriched uranium are identical up to the very last minute when it's arguably too late to stop by force. From an Israeli point of view, theocratic regime that sponsors terrorist groups that kills Israelis like Hamas and Hezbollah simply cannot be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon. For this reason, Israel has been threatening airstrikes on Iran's nuclear program for several decades. Last night, Israel made good on that threat. Israeli officials have described the attacks as prompted by imminent threat of the Iranian nuclear development, with one such official telling BBC that it could have been built bombs within days, quote unquote. Israel's position is that Iran's nuclear development left them no choice in this matter, that it was facing the choice between striking now or staring down a nuclear-armed Iran in the immediate future. We don't know how true these clones are, as we may never, but what we do know is some tension between the Israeli justification for the strikes and the actual targets they hit. Any efforts to cripple Iran's nuclear program would focus heavily on two targets: the nuclear enrichment facilities at the Natanz and Fordo. While Israel did target Iranian nuclear scientists, the physical facilities do not appear to have been taken out. Israel hit Natanz, but an early expert assessments suggest only limited damage, and there was no evidence, at least publicly, that Fordo was hit at the opening round at all. So if it was true, the true target is the nuclear program, why did Israel expend so much effort targeting Iran's ballistic missile capabilities and military leadership while doing relatively little damage to nuclear infrastructure? There are, broadly speaking, two answers to this question. The first is that Israel plans to hit the nuclear facilities harder as the war goes on by unaliving Iran's military leadership, including nearly its entire air command. Israel has weakened Iran's ability to defend its airspace and retaliate against the Israeli homeland. These first strikes on this theory were laying the groundwork for later strikes more focused on nuclear facilities. The entire operation, quote unquote, really has to be completed with the elimination of Fordo. Michael Leader, Israel's ambassador to the U.S., said in a Friday interview on Fox News. The second interpretation is that Israel has even bigger plans. It will heavily target the nuclear facilities to be sure, but it will also engage in a wider campaign to undermine the very foundations of the Iranian regime. By taking out the key leaders, Israel is weakening the Iran's government's ability to maintain its grip on power. The ultimate Israeli hope would be that these strikes have a similar effect in Iran as Israel's devastating strikes on Hezbollah did in Syria, damaging the government's ability to repress so severely that it creates space for domestic opponents to topple it. The targets that were hit made it clear that Israel's goal was broader than damaging Iran's nuclear program. Stephen Cook, a Middle East expert at the Council of Foreign Relations, Rights and Foreign Policies, the Israelis are clearly not satisfied with doing damage to Iran's nuclear program, but it seemed engaged in regime change. There is, in short, little doubt that Israel will heavily target the nuclear facilities in the coming days. That alone could produce significant bloodshed. But if Israel's ambitions are wider, nuclear demolition plus regime change, then we could be in for a much longer, deadlier, and riskier campaign. Can Iran fight back? For many years, the conventional wisdom among the Middle East analysts has always been that Israel will pay a very high price for striking Iran. Iran is a very large company, bigger in population than Germany, France, and Britain, and that is invested heavily in its military. It retains a large ballistic missile arsenal and has an extensive network of proxy militias around the Middle East, all of which have turned on Israel with deadly effect. Iran's Friday afternoon missile barrage suggests that it retains at least some of its capability to fight back, but how much? Since October 7, 2023, since the October 7, 2023 attacks, Israel has been systemically demolishing Iran's proxy network. The brutal war in Gaza has forced Hamas to basically go underground, fighting more like an insurgent group than a mini-state capable of firing off major rocket barrages at Israeli cities. A series of surprise attacks on Hezbollah's leadership in September of last year devastated the Lebanese group to the point where it had been forced to sit out the current round of fighting. And Israel has repeatedly struck Iranian interests around the Middle East, including a major assault on homeland air defenses in October 2024, while paying a relatively low price. An Iranian missile and drone attack targeting Israel in April of last year, launched in retaliation for an attack on its embassy in Damascus, did scarcely any damage. Once again, there are basically two interpretations of events. The first is that Iran is now a paper tiger, by destroying its proxies and exposing its retaliation capabilities by the vastly overstated. Israel has created a situation where it can attack Iran within relative impunity. The Iranians will certainly try and retaliate as they did on Friday, but it will be relatively weak, doing only limited damage to the Israeli targets. The second is that Iran has been holding back. While Iran may hate Israel, it is not, under this telling of events, seen its full-blown war in all of its interests. For that reason, it has been reserving its most devastating weapons and those of its remaining allies, like the Houthis in Yemen and Iraqi militias, in order to avoid escalation. Now that escalation is clearly here, Iran can no longer restrain itself, and the long anticipated devastating response will happen in the coming days. Such an attack will go beyond Israeli military targets and hit the country's cities, attempt to shut down shipping through the critical Strait of Hormuz, and potentially even unalive American personnel in the region. Once again, we cannot yet be sure in which of these scenarios is much more likely. There is also a lot of space between the two extremes in which Iran retaliates forcefully against Israel, but not quite so aggressively against the U.S. and transport ships as pre-war estimates feared. but we can be certain that the scope of the conflict, including any risk that the U.S. might be dragged in, will be determined in the large part by whether Iran is truly weak or simply has seemed away, or simply seemed that way, excuse me. How does Iran think about the bomb after this? It is a technical matter, impossible to permanently prevent a country from building a nuclear bomb in a single attack. Whatever gets destroyed can eventually be rebuilt if the targeted government is truly committed to acquiring a weapon. This fact has been the centerpiece of the case against bombing Iran, an argument focusing less on whether Israel could damage Iranian infrastructure than whether doing so would accomplish anything in the long run. Israel cannot, by force alone, remove Iran's will to build a bomb. So even if Israel does serious damage to Natanz and Fordow, a real if, given Forjow's extensive fortifications, it cannot stop Iranians from repairing it without launching another strike in the future. Moreover, a successful Israeli attack would solidify Iran's interest in acquiring a nuclear deterrent, meaning that Iran would invest huge amounts of resources in a nuclear rebuild as soon as the bombs stop falling. On this logic, one Israeli strike commits Israel to forever war, bombing Iran at regular intervals to prevent it from reconstituting its program. Excuse me. We are now about to see the test of this argument, one with at least three outcomes. The first is that it's correct. Israel does real damage to Iran's nuclear facilities, but in the process, it convinces Iran that it needs to build a bomb in order to deter future Israeli aggression. This is what happened in Israel's 1981 strike on Iraq's nuclear facility in Azeraq, which caused Saddam Hussein's decision to double down on a nuclear development, a program only truly detained in the 1992 Gulf War and subsequent nuclear inspections. The second is that Israel is more effective than critics believes. Perhaps Israel does so much damage to Iran's nuclear facilities that the Iranians calculate the risk, reward, of rebuilding them is simply too unfavorable. Or perhaps the regime change operation succeeds, the new Iranian government decides not to antagonize the world by recommitting a nuclear program. The third is that Iran's nuclear facilities suffer far less damage during the war than people anticipate, and Iran moves swiftly to build a bomb before Israel will be ready to stop them. This may sound implausible given Israel's successes so far, but expert assessments suggest that for the military weakness, it's possible for Iran, has done a better job shielding its weapons programs than it seems. Quote unquote, Iran has already had highly enriched uranium to build several nuclear weapons. This containized and believed to be stored at 3 different locations, and it is unclear whether Israel would be able to get it all off in the ongoing military strikes. Ken Pollock, the vice president for the policy of the Middle East Institute, Rights and Foreign Affairs, Israeli and other Western intelligence services may have a very hard time finding new secretive Iranian nuclear sites. It may also have trouble destroying those sites, even if they're identified, since Iran will likely harden them beyond the level of its current facilities. How fast depends on the extent of the damage, but Fabian Hoffman, a fellow at the Center of European Policy Analysis think tank, suggests that it could, quote unquote, reach weapons grade enrichment levels relatively quickly, so as long as, quote unquote, anything substantial survives. Once again, we do not know which of these 3 scenarios is most likely, but the wide gulf in possibilities from Israel and then Iran's nuclear program to Iran developing a weapon in the immediate future suggests that any attempts to confidently predict what the past days events mean are extremely premature. So is this World War III? We do not know. We don't know how this is going to end. That's what this long Vox story just said from Zach Beauchamp. Shout out to Zach Beauchamp once again. But according to this guy from the FDD, Mark Montgomery, he said, nah, it's not the start of World War III. So we'll see who's right. We'll see who ends up being right, man. Now to the lighthearted stuff. Ex-NFL star Antonio Brown is facing an attempted unaliving charge, bro, in a Miami. Choo, choo, choo. If you remember, it came from the night of Aiden Ross's brand rich night. He had the celebrity boxing and he went outside and they tried to rob AB for his chain and he chased him down and he just pow, pow, pow. He didn't hit nothing, but he pow, pow, pow. The police put him in handcuffs and then he came back out and he went on Aiden's Raw stream and he said, ain't nothing happened. Ain't nothing happened. I told the cops what they say. They let me out them handcuffs expeditiously. This was written by Kurt Anderson of AP News. Former NFL player Antonio Brown is facing an attempted unaliving charge stemming from a that took place in an altercation outside of an amateur boxing event in Miami, according to the arrest warrant. Brown, 36, is accused of grabbing a bing, bing, bing from security staffer and firing two bing, bing, bing at a man he had just got into a fist fight with earlier. The victim, Zokoran Kwame Nantumbu, told one of the investigators that one of the pieces grazed his neck. The warrant does not list an attorney for Brown, an all-pro wide receiver who last played in the NFL in 2021 for Tampa Bay, but mostly spent his 12-year career with Pittsburgh. Brown did not respond to messages sent to his social media accounts. The second-degree unaliving charge carries a maximum of 15-year prison sentence and up to a $10,000 fine. It is the latest in a series of legal troubles for Brown, who has previously been accused of battery, of moving a truck driver, several domestic violence charges, failure to pay child support, and other incidents. During a 2021 game with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against New York Jets, Brown took off his jersey, shoulder pads, and gloves and ran off the field, leading to his release to the Buccaneers. After that incident, Buccaneers Tom Brady said people should show more compassion for Brown, who lived at Brady's home during his time at Tampa Bay. And then, of course, what Brown said about Tom Brady. I mean, it is what it is. So then what did AB have to say about these reports? He said, this cracker did it. It wasn't me. Hashtag cracker of the day. Antonio Brown, everybody. Antonio Brown. Stephen A. Smith is the next thing. Stephen A. Smith was caught red, cold-blooded, handed, playing solitaire during the finals. Here it is. How can you have opinions while you're playing solitaire instead of watching the game? It's a picture of Stephen A. Smith sitting down playing solitaire. It has 3 million views. What did Stephen A. Smith say? Hey, ESPN, ABC, NBA, you pay this man for his opinions? Oops. And then she said, we're going to still at least credit me. And she took the picture of the location to let you know it's really hers. We just lost a game and you're worried about who gets photo credits on this. Jeez. We just lost a game and you're searching for issues on the internet. Jeez. I'm supposed to be butthurt over this. Okay. So Stephen A. said, yep, that's me. Who would have thought I can multitask, especially during timeouts? Hopefully y'all are enjoying the NBA Finals. This is going now 7 games. Now, peeps. So he said he's going 7 games. Fool, this was you during gameplay. There's videos. You started this whole new round during timeouts. Yikes. Yikes. And then he does this. Oh, he posted a screenshot of the game playing while he's playing solitaire. So first he said it was during the timeout. Then he posted a screenshot of him watching. Hey, yo. Nah, this is crazy, bro. Nah, this is crazy. Keep trying. We got video too, fool. Nah, this is insane. Because in this screenshot, ain't no game in that corner, my boy. Now, you ask, why is this a big deal? Why is this a big deal? Why is this a big deal? Because the man just signed a 5-year, $100 million, 9-figure contract. Oh my gosh. And all he has to do is watch and talk about sports in an exciting fashion. And you at the game playing solitaire. Now, they work you all the time, 100%. Stephen A. was up at First Take this morning in a sweatsuit And I think they filmed First Take out in Bristol, Connecticut. So that man went straight to the plane, put on his suit for NBA tonight with the game, bro. And he's executive producer of First Take. So he's doing all that every day. They're working him hard. Don't the man deserve some time to himself? 100%. But it's a bad look when it's out in public at a game, my brother. And if it's that much overworking to where you need some solitaire to cool off or whatever the case might be, then just ask ESPN to work less. But if you want $100 million, you pretty much sold all of your free time to the network because they need you whenever and whenever. So there's that. But next thing next, and this is the last thing, and then we're out of here. Where them fans at? Cicadas are blamed for a crash that left a car on its side. Look at that. This is written by Heather Miller of Fox 5 Atlanta. Look at this, John. Ridiculous. It's a Kia, too. Cicada season is in full swing in some parts of the West, and they're doing more than just buzzing loudly in the trees. A police department in Ohio shared a photo of a car that had rolled over on the side while driving. They said cicadas were the culprit. Here's what they're saying. We're well aware that these pesky cicadas don't respect personal space, including while driving, the Blue Ash Police Department said on the Facebook page. It may be a good idea to keep the windows up for the next several weeks. As you can see, cicada attack can be dangerous. The backstory. This year, a cohort of cicadas named Broad 14 has emerged from the ground to look for mates, according to Fox Weather. They've been spotted in several states, including Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, and North Carolina. Fortunately, no one was injured, but the police joked. That's funny. But the police joked that the suspect fled on the scene. The buzzing sound cicadas are known for actually is the courtship ritual, as the males produce the noise to attract the females. While the cicada phenomenon occurs every year, Broad 14 and many other cicadas is a small part of a multi-year, multi-generational cycles that are connected to geography, the seasons, and the weather. The cicadas of the Broad 14 emerge from the ground every 17 years. That means that last time that we saw the sun, President George W. Bush was nearing the end of his presidency, and Apple was about to launch that App Store. So a long time. So the cicadas are out in rare form, bro. Please be safe when you drive, man. Don't let little things kind of get you in major accidents. And I pray for all of your health and all of those good things. If you just joined the live, I'm so sorry. It was a really small live, really short live, 30 minutes. We about to get off. But the good news is I'll be back tomorrow, as always, here every day. If you're new to the channel, also have a good morning, have a good day, have a good afternoon, have a good evening, have a good night. If nobody else told you today, I care for you. I will see you tomorrow. And hopefully it's before 2:30 a.m. Fingers crossed, chat. But I'll be working until 12, so that's not a good sign. So we'll see what happens. But you all take care of yourselves.
That's for losers, man. I don't get involved in that stuff, but.
Angel Rashad Milligan rolling out.
That's a good question.
We can't ask Rashad a question.
Hey, Rashad.